Hey guys, welcome back to the Dream Lab. We are ready to do another dream. So Johanna, do you want to share your dream?
Yes. Okay, so I was in New York City during this dream. I was at 46th Street, heading to 42nd Street. But after several blocks, I realized that I was actually at 76th Street, and I was going, obviously, the wrong direction. So I went, I did a U-turn, and I was walking at this point. I did a U-turn, and you know how those U-turns, they have those U-turns over the overpasses. So I was walking over the overpass, going to the other side, trying to make my way back to 42nd Street. And when at some point in walking on that overpass and getting to the other side, I now had a shopping cart full of stuff. And then the dream shifted, and I was now on the other side at an auto lot or some sort of a mechanic, lot where they were fixing cars. And there was this older gentleman. He was just very kind, and he was standing there. And I just remember him having something like a dark brown kind of a overalls or whatever that they wear. So I remember that. And I looked at him, and he started helping me, trying to get my way back, and he was trying to give me directions. And at this point, I still had the shopping cart. And as I was talking to him at the mechanic or at the lot, towards the back of the lot, I saw a gathering of people, and it ended up being some women. And so somehow I made my way back there. And as I don't know if I was talking to them or what happened, but it turned into a prayer meeting. So at this prayer meeting, we were just standing there for a few minutes, I believe. And then what happened was this prayer hall or room it was like the women were standing right there at the back of the lot. And then there was this hall that was in front of them. And as I was talking to them, they then hoisted me up and lifted me up onto this elevated part of this hall. I mean, it was this hall, but then you had to climb on this platform kind of thing to get into this hall. So they elevated me and put me on this platform, and I immediately walked straight to the front of the hall, this prayer room. And I wasn't there for too long. I was there in the front, and then I took a side door to the left. I walked out. And then when I walked out, there was just dirt on the ground, and my husband and I were standing there just kind of surveying this place. And there was just a lot of people and excitement and just energy. I remember that. And there was dirt.
Okay.
And that was the end of the dream.
That was the end of the dream. Okay, let's see how much of this we can remember. So you are in New York City, and you're on 46th Street trying to get to 42nd Street. But as you're walking, you realize you're actually at 72nd Street. 76th Street. And you need to make a U-turn. So you go up on the platform and goes across the street to get to the other side of the street to go backwards, which is an interesting thing to do when you're walking instead of just turning around and walking. But it makes sense in a dream. And as you come down off, you have this cart full of stuff, like a shopping cart that's full of stuff. And next to you is kind of like a car lot in mechanic's place. And there's a mechanic there in the overalls, and he's helping you to kind of make your way through. And as that's happening, you recognize that in the back of this car lot that there's a group of women. They're gathering there. And so you make your way to where they're at, and you join them. And as you join them, it becomes a prayer meeting, or it was a prayer meeting, but you realize this is a prayer meeting. And as they're beginning to pray after a few minutes, you see this hall that was in front of them that is right there, and they pick you up and they lift you up onto this platform that lets you get into this hall. It's kind of like a prayer hall. And you go to the far side of the prayer hall, which would be kind of the front of it. And you go out a door to your left. And as you go out the door, you're in an area, and it's like there's dirt, there's a lot of people and things happening and people milling around. You and your husband are both there, which he hadn't been earlier in the dream, but now he's there, and that's where the dream ends. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yay. So Fun dream, lots of details. Don't get too caught up in the details, because this is one, if you get too caught up in the details, you'll end up making it mean something it doesn't mean. So what you're going to want to do, title your dream, come up with your focus, your sub-focus, your details, but then simplify the dream. How could you tell this story in as few words as possible? Get an interpretation that matches that, and then if you want, you can add the details back into it. But if you get too caught up on the details at first, you'll probably miss the main point of this dream. So that'll help you quite a bit. Go ahead and pause your video. And once you have an interpretation for this one, start it again and we'll let you know what we got here at the lab. Hey, guys, welcome back to the lab. I hope you had fun working through this dream. We're going to go through it. There's some fun little pieces once you figure out some of the details that have some very specific meaning to this dreamer. I think you'll get a kick out of. Well, let's figure out what we got from the lab. What did we title this one? Redirected. The turnaround. Okay. Redirected, the turnaround, or elevation was another option. Okay. What is our focus?
The dreamer.
The dreamer, yes. And our sub-focuses? The U-turn. Yeah, so let's put the bigger piece, the car lot. That is 2 words. I know there's not the right amount of space, but close enough. But you've got the maintenance man. And what else?
Prayer. The women.
Yeah. The women, which is prayer. What else?
Cart.
Okay. Where would we put? I'm going to put that off of the U-turn because she gets it during the U-turn, right? Yeah, the shopping cart that's full. So a bunch of supplies. The hall, the prayer hall. That is what I was looking for right here. The prayer hall. I'm going to put an arrow going up from these women because they helped her get up. If that makes sense. We'll remember they lifted her up into the prayer hall. And I know you can't get too caught up on details, but these all have very specific meanings. So I'm going to write those down. The whole dream happened in New York City. She used to live there. So if you don't know that about the dreamer, New York City might have a very specific meaning if somebody's dreaming about New York City and they never lived there. But if they used to live there, it has a very different meaning. It's specific to that dreamer. So it's talking about a season of time in their life rather than what New York would represent. So that is a very helpful detail. Yeah. Any other things that we need to put in here? So the dirt in activity, because there's all these people milling around. And so we'll just put that together because she goes out the door into this place, this dirt floor with all this activity. So the dreamer, literal or metaphorical?
Literal.
Literal. Now, you always want to ask that question. 99% of the time, it's going to be literal. But if you don't ask that question, it's harder to catch it when it's not. So if you make the practice of always asking that question, then it's not your automatic assumption, well, it's literal. Oh, wait a second. Is it literal? Why walking and not taking a cab or taking a bus or the subway or driving? Could be talking about her spiritual walk. Yeah.
She's by herself. She's not taking anybody else, and she's powering herself.
Right. Yeah, it's her activity. She's walking this thing out, and she's under her own power, and it's just her that's doing that walk. So, yeah, all of that stuff together. So it would be very different if she was in a car, because it would be talking about a ministry, talking about a job, but this is talking about her personal walk. She was in the subway, be talking about maybe some, more public transportation. There's a lot more people. Everybody's going in the same direction unless the subway car is empty. And that would be really weird. And that would have very specific meaning. So it's dialing it down. This is about her personal walk. It's not about a ministry direction. It's about her personal walk. So very good. Okay. So why? Let's do the overpass. Why the overpass? The turnaround. She didn't go back the way that she came. Right. So she's not going to go back exactly the same way. The way that she got there is not the way that she's going to get back. That's very good. And so if she would have just turned around on that same sidewalk, maybe it would have been about repentance, which is to turn to face the other direction. But it's not necessarily that. I love that you're not going to go back the same way. So you're just not going to turn around and just retrace your steps. You actually have to cross over into something new to get to where you intended to go. So what's the shopping cart? Full of stuff. Provision. Right. It's in the crossing over in this doing this new way. She realized she's got provision for the next season. So the cart talks about provision. Provision. Okay, now why car lot?
It's cars mean ministry.
Car can mean ministry. They could be jobs. Right.
Provision as well.
So this is a place where there's a bunch of ministries that are one place. But what do you do at a car lot? So there's a lot of ministries that are available to go to the next place. So, but she doesn't take any of them. So you don't want to make too much out of that. But this is a place where there's a lot of potential for ministry. And you keep it just very simple, because if you make too much out of it, it'll go, you can end up missing the main point. Melanie.
Didn't she say, I might be mistaken, but I thought she said car lot, and then she came back with, or it might have been a mechanic shop, they were working on cars. Yeah. And she used the words mechanic shop.
Yes.
So it might have been a car, but so I got the idea that it wasn't a sales lot. Right. No. It was a repair shop.
It was a repair shop. Yeah, all these cars that needed to be.
So.
Okay, so.
So a season of restoration.
So that's ministry, why it changed it for me.
Yeah. That's a good catch. Yeah.
And
ministry, restoration, or repair. Yep.
And the guy gave her direction.
Right. Yeah. So the person that would be the fixing,
the one that does the repairs, he gave her
is helping her with her cart.
Okay.
And so when she gets the help, what happens?
She ends up in a prayer hall.
She ends up in the prayer hall. Right. So she ends up with a group of people praying. And they elevate her into a prayer hall. What's the difference between a group of people praying and a prayer hall?
It's more formalized and organized.
Yes, more formalized, more organized.
There's unity.
Yeah, so a prayer hall, a prayer house, or a house of prayer. Yeah, and they lifted her into the place of, yeah.
They elevated her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was a hall. It was a hall. Not a hallway, but it was a hall. But she does walk from one end to the other end and goes out the other end. So it is a transition. It is a transition because she goes out a different way than what she came in. So that's definitely a season of transition. So the house of prayer is a transition time. Or a temporary time, be another way of putting it. Where does it take her?
It takes her out. She goes back out to dirt, to the ground level.
To ground level?
Ground level.
Okay.
To earth. Brings her back down to earth. But then
I like that. Down to earth. That's good.
and she has options to choose because there's a lot of people. And it's,
down to earth.
Down to earth, the ground level. And she's actually around, there's a bunch of people. It's a community.
Yeah.
People.
There's a lot of activity going on.
Yeah.
And what's different once she gets to this place?
Her husband's there.
She's now with her husband. Yeah. And so what I normally do is if I have a piece, I'll think about the potential of what it might mean. I think about all the different, well, it might mean this, it might mean this, it might mean this. But while I'm doing that, I'm lifting that up to Holy Spirit and asking, okay, so now where's the yes of Holy Spirit? If I can't find a yes, then I wonder, is there something that I don't know? And then I'll often ask the dreamer, does New York City, what does that mean to you? Does that have a specific connection or meaning to you? Oh, yeah, I used to live there for a season. Oh, okay, that makes all the sense in the world. I would ask, but only if I'm looking at the dream. Because I generally, when I'm getting a dream, I try to get as little information as possible. Because you can make a dream fit somebody's life. If you get a dream and you get all their background information, you can make it fit. I mean, that's what a lot of psychologists do, is they take the dream and the elements and they fit it to what they know about the person's life. And this is what it is. And it's not really what the dream is talking about. So I'm very wary of that because I know the temptation to make it fit. So I don't want to know. The less I know, the easier it is for me to stick to revelation and not what I can figure out in my own mind. Because I don't want to figure it out in my own understanding. I really want revelation to understand what the dream is. Yeah. So I try to avoid asking unless I get stuck on it. And there's usually a sense of, I bet they know what that means. And then I'll ask them. There's 4 aspects of a prophetic word. You got the revelation, and in this situation, we're talking about a dream. But however the revelation comes, then you have the interpretation, and you have the application, and you have the proclamation. So the dreamer already got the revelation. All we're doing is the interpretation piece. Somebody that is involved in their lives, usually somebody that's in a place of leadership or relationship and counsel, is going to be the best option for the application, or the dreamer themselves. Somebody that's not involved in their lives, that application piece, if we constantly try to get the application piece, it can end up using revelation to control people's lives. And you got to be very, very, now there's times where the application is clear and you share it, but you want to be careful how you share it, because you're giving them an invitation, because they have to take responsibility for their own revelation and their own obedience. But our piece is just the interpretation, especially dream interpretation. It's the easiest part of the prophetic ministry, if you will, because all you've got to do is just the interpretation. The rest of it is... that's up to them. And they had the dream. They've got to figure out what to do with it. They just need to know what it means. And so that's very key. Yeah. Very helpful. Okay. Down to earth, lots of activity. Who wants to give a stab at the interpretation? We've got a couple of them. The numbers. Well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see. Yeah, because it won't change the interpretation. It'll just add a nuance to it. Yeah, so Felicia, come on up.
Okay.
Yay.
So, Johanna, I believe this dream is about you. Mm-hmm. And it's taken you back to a place previously. And I believe that your direction, you're going on your own, in your own direction, on your own path, because you're walking your own path out. And you're redirected, you're turning around, you're going a different direction. And you end up seeing the provision that God has for you. And it's full. I mean, your cart is full. And as you go up, because you have to walk up, so you're elevating, you're walking up a direction, you turn around, and you go a different direction than what you originally planned. So it wasn't your plan to go that direction. And you end up at a car lot where they're fixing cars. And so there's a ministry component to that. And there's something in you that you see needs to be fixed. This man helps you with your cart, with what was the provision that was given you. And in that, you end up in a hall full with women that are praying, and they elevate you through prayer. They're lifting you up. And as you get lifted up to a higher level in what God has called you to be, you come back down to earth. And you're at ground level, and you are with your husband, and you're ready to walk out your destiny with all the activity and the blessings God has in store for you.
Yay.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Come on up. All right. Ephraim.
Joanna, right?
Yes.
Well, it's like I see, this is about you, of course. I see you've been on this journey, and it's been a journey of a lot of misdirections, some disappointments, and that you've had to make a turn. And when I saw you going over the overpass, that also, it represents an elevation. And as God is bringing you up higher, even though you've made some misdirections, you ended up in a place where you thought you wasn't going to be, but now you're on the right path. And the grocery cart, to me, it feels like God is saying, hey, along the way, even though you've gone through some disappointments and misdirections, you've gained a lot. You've gained a lot of wisdom, provision, and everything you need is in this cart. So it's like he's saying, everything you need right now, you have it, even while you're on your way to going where you're trying to get to. And the mechanic shop, the mechanic that's giving you direction, it's like God is saying, okay, I'm sending you direction right now. I'm giving you the direction that you need. And when you show up there, you discover these women in the back. And then a prayer meeting popped up. It's like a pop-up prayer meeting. a prayer meeting pops up. That's an indication that I feel like you're called to prayer. There's a praying, when I say this, like a prayer mantle on your life. And so they end up taking you to the hall and they lift you up. And then I believe you said you came to the front. It's like you're in this season where you're coming from the shadows to the forefront. You're coming to the front. And even when you're up at the front, you're looking around and you go to the down to your earth level with your husband. And you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm here now. I'm ready. I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to do what God has called me to do.
Wow. Yes. That's fun. So who wants to pull up Psalm 46? Now, I'm just going to have them read the very first verse, Johanna, but I would suggest looking at the whole chapter. So who's got it? All right, read the first verse.
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble.
So that's where you started. You understood that God was your strength, that he was your provision, that he was going to get you to where you wanted. But your heart was longing for something. Read chapter 42, verse 1. You knew that where you needed to get to was...
As a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God.
But on your path there, you found yourself in a very different place. Psalm 76.
In Judah, God is known. His name is great in Israel.
Keep on going.
His abode has been established in Salem, his dwelling place in Zion.
One more.
There he broke the flashing arrows, the shield, the sword, and the weapons of war.
You were pursuing intimacy, but you found yourself in a place of warfare. And you knew that you needed to change, but you couldn't get back the way that you came. And so you crossed over. You had to go on a different path. And you were looking for restoration. You were looking for healing. And God gave you all the equipment that you needed. What you didn't realize, that your answer was found in the house of prayer. And that's what's launched you into the destiny. Yeah. Now, she's actually a worship leader at a house of prayer. That piece I knew, which helps. But the psalm piece, like why 42, 46, 76, if you just take those numbers and you add them together, they just don't make sense. That don't make sense. Why am I trying to get to man? Like 42, 6, like that doesn't make any sense. And so what might they mean? You read through those chapters, it'll help you understand a lot of the season that you've been through, because this is a season that started when you were in New York City, but now you're kind of out of the city, if you will. Yeah, but there's a lot of activity going on.
So what does left represent? Because I know someone
Destiny. Destiny.
Which I didn't know.
It's what you're born to. Yeah, you're going into your destiny, which is, but the only way you're going to get there is by the going to the front of the house of prayer. But you can't get in yourself. Somebody else is going to have to lift you up into it.